Hi, and welcome back. Welcome back to the channel and to another weekly update and horoscope for each rising sign. I am really excited for this week. I feel like this week is very similar to this past week we've had, but a lot more chill. And it's going to allow for a lot more space for us to get the answers we need, the clarity we need to move forward with. Um, Looking ahead, if y'all saw my update that I do every Sunday on TikTok with my astro board, then you already kind of know and have an idea of what this week will be about. But the main theme from doing that update is what it seemed to be is really about, and I feel like, again, we just keep getting breadcrumbed with clarity. It's like, oh, I have a new idea or a new insight into what I want to do and how I want to move forward. And then, oh, like it's just like a little breadcrumb and it comes gradually. It's been coming slowly. And I think we're going to continue to see even more of that this week because there's just so much changing right now in the world. And there's so much at play for all the pieces to line up for us to move forward with the clarity and the answers that are slowly but surely coming to us. And I feel like this message right now, another message is just to not force answers or force clarity because there's a divine orchestration to it. It's gonna come in divine timing when it needs to and how it needs to. I was just talking about this earlier on my Instagram stories. If you follow me over there, you might have already seen. I have been in 3 different towns in Montana this past week. I was looking at my update from last week and I was like, damn, I was in a completely different town. I went to like another town, then I went to another town, then I went back to that town. Now I'm in another town. There's just so much change and we can't really predict or look too far ahead. We have to be just really present with what is moment to moment. So this week overview, we have the moon moving from Pisces, where it will end at the end of the week next Sunday in Cancer. So those signs are the major focus: Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer a little bit, but it won't move into Cancer until Sunday night. So mostly wrapping up Pisces today and tomorrow, Aries tomorrow, Tuesday and Wednesday, I think, and then Taurus really into the weekend, and then Gemini as well. We also have a Mercury Cazimi in Virgo, I believe on Thursday, which will be pretty close to the South Node, conjunct technically the South Node. So I think this is going to have us revisiting themes from mid-July, but more so on, okay, what kind of mental things were coming up back then for us to clear, for us to look at, for us to release. This energy is a further revisitation of that, but more at the mental level and also at the level of like, okay, what is being illuminated right now about how we can just change our mindset with everything that we're experiencing. For me, it's been a lot of just remembering to be grateful for where I am and what I have and what I've accomplished. And I was thinking about this earlier. Before I came up here and embarked on this road trip, I was looking at a map of Montana and looking at maybe, okay, where I'd want to go, where I'd want to stay, if I was going to move here, like what town would what town looked the best for me, where is it in proximity to other stuff in Montana that I want to see and I want to do. And it's just I feel like what we were planning for earlier this year, we're now kind of living and maybe realizing like we just need to make some adjustments to it in order for it to align with what we want, for it to align with our dream, right? And so it's just it's a whole different thing looking at a map and being like, oh, I could go there, I could go here, that's where this is, and blah blah blah, and then being here. Like it's totally 2 different things, but that part of the journey is what got me here. And what's getting me to my next step is what I'm doing right now. Does that make sense? So it's like it's all building, it's all coming together, and we really just have to trust in that. We really just have to let what is going to unfold in the way that it's going to. Because it is happening for our highest good, and we really just need to be trusting in that right now and not getting bogged down into logistics or um negative mindsets or overthinking, analysis paralysis. Like, what can you take action on? What can you control? What can you refine? We're in Virgo season after all. What can you organize, clear out, clean out? In the meantime, while you're waiting, quote unquote, for the answers, because it's all a part of laying that foundation and doing the kind of inner work to have that foundation of us moving forward. I feel like I've been talking about this in almost all of my videos. It was a big theme of what came up in the full moon workshop that I did for this eclipse today, and I did it on Friday in my inner circle membership. But the biggest theme, there were so many juicy messages that came through in that workshop about this full moon and the energy of these eclipses overall and for the next 6 months. A lot of it was we're in a big ending. We're in a big ending, and endings aren't easy, endings aren't quick, endings aren't clean, they're messy, but with every ending comes a beginning. So we just kind of have to focus on what's in front of us right now, like I said, and that trust that it's getting us to where we need to go, and that the answers will come when they need to come, how they need to come, and that's it. Everything else is just a matter of staying present, and having your spiritual practices to keep you present as well. Leah says, ready for everything to align. Yes, we're so close to it. Okay, so let's get into the horoscopes. I think I have to move. Yeah, I have to move my Astro software so I can share it with y'all. I'm gonna keep these brief today and just let me know um what y'all prefer, because sometimes I keep them brief, sometimes I go in depth, and maybe everyone has a different preference, but just let me know. Let me know in the comments how everything's showing up for you. If these are resonating with you, please let me know. It helps me a lot to hear how things are going for y'all. Okay, so Aries Rising, we start the week off with the moon in your 12th house and Pisces on Saturn before it moves into Aries later on Monday. And this is going to be a lot of clarity, I believe, Aries, about your mindset, maybe how you've been viewing things, and maybe even the structure that's playing into that in your life, and really reevaluating what you're doing, where you're going, possibly related to work and your home in some way, maybe how that's all wrapped into each other. And it kind of stems from your mindset and your belief system about things. And maybe you're starting to see, like, oh, I didn't need to make this so hard, or you're just starting to see things more clearly than maybe you had been, because maybe somebody came into your life and showed you that, right? Or gave you a new perspective. And it's really starting to shift things. Later on Monday, as the moon moves into your first house, I do feel there's going to be this emotional renewal. There could be a sudden shift in clarity of how you're seeing yourself or how you're viewing life. There could also be this sense later on Monday of fogginess as the moon is going to move over Neptune. And so that emotional clarity, that emotional renewal might not come until we get into Tuesday. But I do feel like there's going to be things on Tuesday as well that give you more clarity about how to move forward, particularly as it relates to your long-term goals, visions, maybe creative projects or things like that. But there could be some tension between your home or family and your relationships and what's going on emotionally with you, like almost this energy of, okay, well, I know what I want to do, but how do I go about it? And it might feel like there's not that pressing desire to act just yet, even though you're getting more of the answers that you need around whatever it is. There could be an emotional transformation maybe around your money on Wednesday as the moon moves into Taurus, into your second house. There could also be, before that, some healing around your sense of self, your identity, maybe related to what's going on in your relationships. We're also going to have on Wednesday the sun on the south node before Mercury joins the sun, and we have the Mercury Cazimi in Virgo. So there could be a lot of clarity and breakthroughs around work, what you're doing to refine or just organize your work better, your work-life balance better, maybe even getting more strict about your schedule or something like that, or just really starting to get more ideas about other ways you want to make money, things like that, especially as Taurus is going to be in the moon in Taurus is going to be in your second house, harmonizing with all that's in Virgo. in your sixth. So on Thursday, there could really be this just sudden clarity or breakthrough around that and how to take action on it. But it could come at a challenge to maybe your dating life or creative passion that you want to embark on too. It's almost like this sense of, okay, well, I really want to do this. This would be so fun, but I kind of have to be a little bit more practical and I have to kind of mm, put more structure into place in order to also have that fun with whatever changes you're making. Does that make sense? Then as we get into Friday, there could be a sudden shift in terms of your mindset. I feel like so much of what's coming up for you presently, Aries, is mindset stuff and kind of how you're viewing yourself, how you're viewing everything around you, and maybe just starting to see more clearly of like, oh, I don't have to make this so hard. There could be a sudden emotional shift around that on Friday as the moon moves over Uranus. It's going to harmonize with Pluto as well. So maybe your community or your friend groups kind of bring this innovative idea to you or this help you to have some emotional breakthrough that's going to come around your ideas, around your maybe mindset and communication as well. Then as we get into the weekend, we're gonna have the moon in Gemini challenging the Mercury Cazimi that we have in your sixth house. So again, there could be this sense of, okay, I know what I want to do. It's almost like two steps forward, one step back, but it's a divine recalibration that needs to happen. So it's really just about trusting your process as you are moving through these changes and getting the clarity that you need as it's meant to come. There could also be a conversation you have with somebody in your life, maybe a new romantic interest or something like that, over the weekend that really supports you in getting more clarity around how to act on these changes as well and put them into place and into practice. That could maybe extend into Sunday, um, as well before the moon moves into Cancer later on Sunday. So that's the week ahead for you, Aries. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Taurus Rising. We start the week off with the moon on Saturn and Pisces in your 11th house. There could be some clarity you received around this eclipse. Related to your long-term goals, visions, community, creative projects. And then as we start the week, it's kind of like, okay, how do I put this into action? What do I need to do? What do I need to commit myself to or be disciplined with in order to make it happen? Um, then later on Monday, the moon is going to move into Aries into your 12th house. There could be a little bit of reclusive energy that creeps over you of like, okay, well, in order to do this, I need to have like hermit mode or I need to have downtime or I need to like reevaluate some things and need to kind of be alone to be able to do that. Um, but I do feel like as much as there is this energy of like needing to go within, there's also a lot of support around you and, don't be scared to kind of voice what you need to the people around you because I feel like there's so much supportive people around you right now. And it might just be you kind of grappling with yourself of how to let them know what you need so they can give it to you kind of thing. Um, on Tuesday, there could be maybe some friction between that, your need for alone time, and what you just have to take care of in your day to day. So there might be some challenges, conflict between all of that, but again, I do feel like it's just a perspective shift that's needed. If you need to ask for help, that kind of thing. Or if you need to kind of put things off, move what you can in order to take care of your mental health and not sacrifice it for these things that you need to do. Also feels like maybe family or somebody in your home could help you in some way. As we move into Wednesday, the moon moves into your first house, into Taurus. It's going to challenge Pluto in your 10th. So there could be this sense of like an emotional renewal and transformation, maybe related to your career, but it feels challenging. As well, it feels like it's really kind of conflicting your own emotional health and then what's going on in your career. Again, there's this struggle to balance things. Um, and so again, asking for support when you need it and how you need it is really going to help you just not get overwhelmed. As we get into Thursday, we're going to have the Mercury Cazimi beginning. Mercury's also on the south node. The sun just moved over the south node in your fifth house. There could be this energy of like, okay, I really need to release this as it relates to a creative project, or you might get more clarity on how to refine a creative project as it relates to the changes that you're experiencing in your sense of self, um, as well. But it could come at a challenge or conflict with what's going on in your home or with family, kind of thing too. Then as we get into Friday, the moon moves over Uranus in your second house. There could be a sudden positive shift related to all the changes you're making in your career and with work. Could positively affect your money as we get into the weekend. There could be some sudden clarity or insight idea download that you act on that brings that in. And just might be a slight change with how you're going about things in order to have this positive shift in your finances, is what it feels like. Could also again be more clarity around how to refine what's going on in your dating life or with creative projects and passions. On Saturday, let's see, the moon is going to challenge the Mercury Cazimi and Virgo. So there could also be some things that are coming up conflicting what's going on with your finances and what's going on with these creative projects. Maybe realizing like, oh, I need to charge more, or um I don't know, some emotional pull drive to change something in your finances related to what's going on with the creative passion or pursuit. But it does feel like, especially as we get into Sunday, the moon is going to harmonize, like midday on Sunday, is going to harmonize with Mars in your sixth house. So it kind of feels like you just have to bite the bullet and do it, and not overthink it. Like if your intuition is really telling you to raise your prices or to do something differently, like really trust that and take action on it versus getting overly analytical about it and then kind of like it's almost like trust your instincts, trust what's coming up that might be sudden or unexpected to change about something, and just flow with whatever it is, because it's the divine inspiration is coming for a reason, so trust it and act on it. And that's the week ahead for you, Taurus. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Gemini Rising, we start the week off with the moon on Saturn and Pisces in your 10th house. There could be some thing within your career that you're getting more clarity around or needing to be a little bit more disciplined or committed to. And there's this kind of emotional drive or push to act on it. As we get later into Monday, the moon moves into your 11th house into Aries. It moves over Neptune. So there might be some emotional fogginess around like what's going on with your long-term goals and visions, maybe even community too. But that's not gonna last super long time. I think there could just be this maybe spaciness around feeling like you know what you're doing, um, or this new beginning that you're embarking on. It's kind of like you might be questioning or have self-doubt, but um, yeah, just don't act from that self-doubt. Know that it's like it's gonna go and it's gonna pass. As we get into Tuesday, the moon is going to oppose Mars in your fifth house and also harmonize with Venus in your third as it challenges Jupiter in your second. There could be some money stuff that comes up. Maybe you have to like borrow money, or maybe you have to just really think about your finances differently and change what's going on there to kind of suit your long-term goals and visions and what has changed about what you want to do with your life and how you want to move forward. Because there's a lot of opportunity for expansion in your money, but it's just kind of like you have to change how you're going about it, even though it might feel uncomfortable and it might feel foreign. You really maybe have to also lean on your friends right now in ways that feel uncomfortable, but are ultimately supporting this change that you're making, and ultimately will support like the positive evolution that's happening with your finances, even if it seems like a temporary setback. There could be a wound Tuesday into Wednesday around that surfaces as well. That gives you more clarity on what's really going on underneath the scene, underneath the surface, and how to kind of shift it, and heal it. Then as we get into Wednesday, the moon moves into Taurus in your 12th house. It challenges Pluto in your ninth. There could be this big, again, kind of clarity around these deep subconscious wounds and a shift that comes from that. And you really realizing, like, oh, I just need to see this differently. I need to really look at this differently. I need to think outside of the box as it relates to this. And maybe really go deep within the psyche, the subconscious, to be able to do that and to get the clarity you need around um, yeah, how to not repeat the old, but really like be operating from this new place that you're kind of in transition of right now. As we get into Thursday, the moon is going to harmonize with the Mercury Cazimi. That's in your fourth house. You might get clarity over a home situation, housing, or family situation. You might be releasing ties to a home, maybe even mentally, of like, okay, or releasing the need to kind of mentally analyze or figure out in your mind what's going on with your home and really just surrendering to like what's coming about, and what's being presented to you from other people. Also, on Thursday, the moon challenges Venus in your third. So there could be some, again, something that triggers you, maybe with just like an errand you have to run, and there's just something that happens when you're out and about that kind of triggers you to look at, again, a deeper subconscious wound, that's been coming up for you to really shift and heal so that, again, you don't keep repeating these old patterns. As we get into Friday, the moon moves over Uranus into your first house. This is the energy of like an emotional renewal, but it's kind of like a chaotic one. I'm getting like the energy of like literally birthing. It's, it's a really chaotic, painful, traumatic experience, but something beautiful comes from it. That's this energy of like there could be something suddenly, chaotically that changes in your life, maybe about you, that you kind of prompts for this emotional like turmoil, but ultimately it maybe brings up things you needed to feel and in order to like clear the waters and rise from them renewed. Is that energy? It's a really weird way to put it, but that's what's coming through. So let me know if that makes sense. Then as we get into Saturday, the moon is going to challenge the Mercury Cazimi in your fourth house. Again, there could be a lot of clarity coming through around what you need to let go of as it relates to like trying to figure out your home situation, and just letting it flow. There could be a positive shift as well in terms of your creative inspiration or taking action on some creative project related to this emotional renewal that's come about at the start of the weekend. That gives you maybe more clarity on where to go and how to go about getting there with these changes. That continues into Sunday as well. So that's the week ahead for you, Gemini. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Cancer Rising. We start the week off with the moon on Saturn in your ninth house. This could bring about the energy to really be disciplined with whatever came up at the time of the eclipse or really over this past weekend. What came up around or what changes emotionally were happening for you around your mindset, around your perspective of life, maybe even international travel as it applies. It's almost like your whole kind of how you have seen the world, like your lens is really shifting in a drastic way. Maybe you've adopted more spiritual practices or revisited religion or something like that. And it's really just helping you to make peace with what's going on. And on Monday, there could be this energy of like, okay, I really have to be disciplined with this. I really have to commit myself to this in order to see long-term positive results from it. As we get into Tuesday, the moon moves into your 10th house over Neptune. There could be this moment of like kind of doubting what's going on in your career or doubting the new beginning you've embarked on there or the changes you've wanting to make or have made. Um, but I also feel like as Tuesday progresses, like that will clear up and it's almost like this fog will lift emotionally and you'll get the inspiration, the drive to know what to do about it. As we get into really later on Tuesday and into Wednesday, the moon's going to oppose Mars in your fourth house. There could be something in your home that puts tension on your career or vice versa, maybe with family even too. But I do feel like whatever this is, whatever you're emotionally driven to do or create or act on, it's going to positively benefit your finances. Whether or not it's an immediate positive result isn't the point. It's about just doing the thing that you're called and led to do, and it will positively benefit your finances. You could see a little glimmer of those positive results instantly, but the majority of the results positive are going to come over time. So just stay consistent with whatever this is. There could also be something Tuesday into Wednesday that kind of triggers you emotionally, in your career or with your public image, or maybe just like you're out and about in the world and something really triggers you and feels like it puts challenges or conflict on your home, your family, or you in some way, or all of those. It's like, but again, I feel like this has been a message for you the last few weeks, Cancer. It's like there's a lot of people around you that would support you right now or are supporting you. So really lean on those people when you need. Um, as we get into Thursday, the moon moves into your 11th house. It's going to challenge Pluto in your 8th. There could be some conflict, maybe related to what came up earlier in the week, that challenges you to have an emotional shift, to have an emotional transformation, maybe even at a like a really deep subconscious level where you just see things differently all of a sudden. It's like you have this big epiphany. Even though there was challenge or conflict that led you there, it's like you feel such relief from it. And the challenge and the conflict was like worth it to have this breakthrough. As we get into Friday, the moon is going to challenge Venus in your second house again. That could create more kind of challenge or conflict emotionally. Um, Maybe you're being really tested to stay firm in your boundaries or your values or your worthiness. Um, and I also feel like this could prompt for you to stand up for yourself in maybe ways you wouldn't have before, because there's a lot about your old ways of being and your mindset that are shifting with the Mercury Cazimi on the South Node you have in your third house. And on Friday, the moon is going to harmonize with it. So this could really, Thursday into Friday, the moon's going to harmonize with it. You could really see a lot of positive, like, mm, how do I say that? Like, I feel like you're going to see the results of like the mindset work you've been doing and how it has paid off and really changed, how you approach conflict, how you approach talking about yourself, to others, that kind of thing, and really standing up for yourself more than I think you ever have. As we get into Saturday, the moon moves into Gemini over Uranus in your 12th house, harmonizing with Pluto in your 8th. Again, this could create the energy for a really deep subconscious transformation that feels like breakthrough, that feels like clarity, that feels like a big epiphany. And it's kind of this energy of like, oh, that's why all that had to happen the way that it did. Later on Saturday and into Sunday, the moon's going to challenge the Mercury Cazimi in your third house. So again, it can really propel you to speak up for yourself in maybe ways you wouldn't have before, and really just voice your needs, voice your concerns, and maybe a more graceful, tactful way than what you would have gone about before. But again, I think it's going to really show you how much you have changed in terms of the way that you approach things and how you handle things. Um, and yeah, just really starting to see yourself differently and that having a positive ripple effect in every area of your life. So that's the week ahead for you, Cancer. Let me know how that resonates. And I'll see you next week. Okay, Leo Rising. The time is 3:33 a.m. that I have this pulled up. We start the week off on Monday with the moon on Saturn in your 8th house. There might be some emotional discipline or commitment required as it relates to what's going on with your finances or your investments. Um, this eclipse was in your areas of money. It was, and that's where the Mercury Cazimi is going to be for you. So there might be this really big shift that comes about that happens where it's like you just have to see finances differently. You just have to see your resources differently, your ability to create resources differently than you have before. As we get into Tuesday, well, later on Monday, actually, later on Monday, the moon's gonna move into Aries in your ninth house, move into Aries in your ninth house over Neptune. There could be some fogginess at first about, okay, I got clarity, but now what do I do with it? And as we get into Tuesday, I think that's the fog's gonna lift and you're gonna really just start to see things from a new lens. Um, on what you need to do in order to have the life that you want and that you're building and taking action towards right now. As we get into Wednesday, the moon is going to harmonize with Venus in your first house. So again, there could be this really big perspective shift where you're starting to see yourself from a new light and a new lens. and really stepping into a new sense of worthiness of your values, maybe even with relationships too. But there could come at a challenge to what old paradigms in your subconscious, your belief systems, maybe from childhood, from school. And on Wednesday, there's really going to be this energy of like being emotionally challenged, to see things differently, and to really maybe even question like, okay, this is how I'm thinking about this, but where does that come from? Like, is that something I chose? Or was it just like passed on to me and I just accepted it as my truth? It's like your truth about yourself and your life is changing, and all of these things are kind of putting pressure on you to make those changes and really just get clear on, okay, where is this coming from? Do I want to keep acting this way? Do I want to keep living this way? And if not, what do I need to do to change it? As we get into later on Wednesday and into Thursday, Moon moves into your 10th house. It challenges Pluto in your 7th. There could be an emotional shift related to your career and maybe relationships. Um, Maybe somebody in your life kind of mirrors something to you that provides you with more clarity about what's going on, or a breakthrough. That feels more like the energy of over the weekend, though, as we're going to have on Friday night into Saturday, the moon's going to move over Uranus and harmonize with Pluto. So there could be this sudden breakthrough of like, oh, maybe you have a conversation with somebody and you really just start to emotionally see things differently, and there's this kind of like aha moment or this epiphany around, again, everything that's consolidating right now and moving into place for you, and like what to do about it. We also have the Mercury Cazimi over the weekend too. Starts at the end of the week and kind of continues into the weekend. And your second house there again could be these epiphanies and breakthroughs on how to see money differently, maybe what just needs to be reorganized in order to have the finances you want, or in the way that you want, um, or create a better financial picture for yourself as well. As we get into Sunday, there could be something related to all of that, from the epiphany, from the breakthrough, that you realize you need to take action on. And it could kind of be a spontaneous thing or an instinctual thing, or it's just like, I need to act on this right now, to have what I want. So that's what we got for you, Leo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Virgo rising. We start the week off with the moon on Saturn in your 7th house. There could be this emotional drive to create some boundaries around people, or just with relationships in general. Maybe you're getting more emotional clarity on how to go about that, and more, or maybe even doing it internally, like this internal energetic sense of boundary setting and of what you're not really willing to put up with anymore. Later on Monday, the moon's going to move into your 8th house over Neptune. There could be this emotional fogginess around a new beginning you're wanting to have with money, with resources, with investments. Again, this has been a theme for the past several weeks, Virgo, but it's really about like money. What are you doing with it? How are you viewing it? Really stepping into a new relationship with it, and like again, putting those energetic and literal boundaries in place to have that, in the ways that you want it. Um, as we get into Tuesday, later on Tuesday, the moon is going to harmonize in your 8th house, with Venus in your 12th. So again, this could be the emotional drive for these, taking action on these breakthroughs, or the stepping into this new sense of value, really valuing yourself, your creative things, your work, how you're sharing yourself with the world, stepping into a new sense of value and worthiness. Maybe that's raising your prices, or because you just like have so much work, it's overwhelming you. So you're like, I really, I can't keep giving up more time. I don't have more time to give. So I have to raise my prices and weed out what's not worth my time. It's that kind of energy. There's something that you're like emotionally driven to take action on as it relates to these new set of values and worthiness that you're stepping into. But it could also come at odds with like some feeling of expansion, within your community or within your friend groups or long-term visions. Might feel like there's challenge because of that. Might feel like there's conflict as well, or tension between like how the money that's coming in and how you're handling it, or how you're sharing it with another. Or maybe even like realizing like, oh, I don't need to take this on for somebody. Like, this, this is where I end, this is where they begin, and like I don't need to keep taking on baggage that's not mine. Because it might be affecting your finances also. As we get into Wednesday, the moon's going to move over Chiron in your eighth house again. There could be some emotional trigger or wound that comes up around that, and how to kind of further clear what has been showing up for you there so that you don't keep repeating from old cycles. As we get later into Wednesday, the moon moves into Taurus, into your ninth house. There could be this breakthrough and this epiphany around your work and how you're viewing it all. Um, and kind of this like changing, making a change to your lens related to what's going on in your work. Like this is the energy of a positive emotional transformation, but it doesn't feel comfortable. It may come through conflict or challenge at first, but it is going to propel you into a positive transformation and change. Um, in terms of like your perspective. Then as we get into Friday, the moon's going to harmonize in your ninth house with the Mercury Cazimi in your first house. Again, this is the energy of like this kind of emotional drive for a breakthrough in terms of you and your mindset around you and what's going on. Like maybe there's inner self-talk or self-criticism that you didn't really realize you were kind of feeding it. And there's this maybe emotional breakthrough or clarity of like, okay, I need to like talk to this inner critic differently, and I need to stop like listening to it and tell it to shut up, or tell it like, I'm sorry you're hurt, or whatever. Like it's just like you're learning to talk to yourself differently in your inner world related to what's been changing about your self-image, your worth, your values. And maybe there's people in your life that are helping you also step into that. Um, as we get into Saturday, we're late on Friday and into Saturday, the moon moves into your 10th house over Uranus. There could be, again, this kind of emotional breakthrough, epiphany as it relates to your work and your career and what you're doing there. Um, and how it's like helping you achieve where you want to go and where you see yourself going, your long-term visions and goals. There could be, yeah, a sudden breakthrough epiphany around all of that and what needs to happen to positively change it all in ways that you want to see it change. And then on Sunday, it feels like there's kind of this emotional drive to take action towards that, through some conflict or challenge, maybe emotionally in your career, that's kind of tugging on you to make the inner mindset changes, about how you talk to yourself, and how that seeps through in your conversations and presentation, with others. Does that make sense? So that's the week ahead for you, Virgo. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, Libra Rising, we start the week off on Monday with the moon on Saturn in your sixth house. There could be this emotional drive to get more disciplined and committed to how your routines are changing, how your work-life balance is changing, things that you're putting into place to really take care of yourself in ways that maybe have fallen off or been neglected. There's this emotional drive to really get serious about it. Um, Early on Monday. And then as we get later into Monday, the moon moves over Neptune in your seventh house. There could be something emotionally foggy about relationships. Um, but I do feel like that's not going to last super long. There may be some emotional doubt as well about somebody else in your life, or just what's going on with other people around you. Um, but then that clears up later on Monday. And as we get into Tuesday, uh, the moon is going to harmonize in your seventh house with Venus in your 11th. So there could be this emotional clarity and harmony between what's going on in your relationships and your long-term goals and visions. Maybe also your community and your friend group too. It feels like there's kind of this cozy energy, geared towards taking action on something. But also it might put tension on what's changing about you and what's expanding in your career. So there could be that sense of like, oh, this is really challenging. This is really, I feel really conflicted. But also it's like, okay, what are the positives? How can you focus on that and take the action that you need towards what is positively building that you have clarity around? Does that make sense? As we get into Wednesday, the moon's going to move over Chiron in opposite Mars. So again, there can be this emotional tension, um, on you, maybe related to your career as well, bringing up some wound or trigger within your relationships emotionally that maybe you didn't realize was still kind of dormant there, with how you deal with others or what's going on with others. Somebody could mirror in you a wound or a trigger that kind of just you weren't expecting to be brought up. But it needed to be brought up so that you cleared it and you don't keep acting from a wounded place within your relationships and how you're going forward in your relationships with other people, especially romantic and in dating. Then, as we get later into Wednesday, the moon's going to move into Taurus and challenge Pluto in your fifth. There could be an inner transformation around that. There could be something too that shifts emotionally within like your subconscious. Um, as it relates to like letting people in or like being really vulnerable or allowing people to maybe see like your inner world and maybe ways that you wanted to hide. Um, Thursday and into Friday, we have the moon challenging Venus in your 11th. There could be, again, this kind of challenge or conflict around what's going on in terms of your friendships or your community, your long-term visions and goals, and how you're stepping into a new or really rather how these new values and sense of worthiness you stepped into are showing up in your long-term visions and goals. You might be really realigning things. And also Thursday into Friday, the moon is going to be harmonizing with the Mercury Cazimi we have in Virgo. So there could be this sudden clarity of what you need to do, the practical steps you need to take in order to have the changes you want to see. There might also be this sense of like, okay, I really need to refine my mindset. I really need to look at like what is the gunk that's going on in there, maybe journaling or talking it out, in order to just get clarity on the inner world and maybe things that haven't been benefiting you, that need to be looked at so you can kind of refine what's going on with your mental health, your mindset, and how that's playing into everything else in your life. As we get into the weekend, Friday into Saturday, the moon's going to move into Gemini over Uranus and harmonize with Pluto in your fifth. There could be this big perspective shift around dating, around your creative projects or pursuits. You could get this sudden inspiration to do something or create something or have an idea, an epiphany. There could be this sudden emotional shift with just your lens of life, maybe even long distance travel too, if that applies. But there is this kind of sudden, unexpected way um, yeah, your mindset just like shifts, maybe from the work that you've been doing all week leading up to this. It's like all of a sudden you just unlock what was there, and it's like you see everything differently because of that. And then over the weekend, it feels like just taking a lot of action based on that clarity, especially on a Sunday as we have the moon challenging the Mercury Cazimi in your 12th house. So there could be something about the mindset shifts that you're making, that challenges, again, your belief systems and your perspective, and maybe even questioning like, okay, where did this come from? Is it benefiting me? How do I like change it, shift it, choose something that does benefit me that I do want to believe about life or way I want to see life, etc. And there's gonna be this emotional drive to like take action on that and to maybe even like change some part of you, some identity shift, some sense of self shift. It's like you're stepping in fully to a new version of you, but not just like on the outside, on the inside. There's a new you solidifying, and it feels like over the weekend, this upcoming weekend, it's like it really clicks into place. So that's the week I had for you, Libra. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Scorpio Rising. We start the week off on Monday with the moon on Saturn in your fifth house. There could be some creative thing or passion project, or maybe this applies to your romantic life and with dating that you really have to be emotionally disciplined to. Whatever came up over the weekend with the eclipse, it's like, okay, now I have to act on this. Now I have to really put steps into place to make this happen so that I don't fall off and end up where I started again, maybe. Later on Monday, the moon moves into your sixth house over Neptune. There could be some self-doubt or fogginess around just your habits, your routine, your physical health, like what you're doing on a daily basis, maybe even for work or for money. Um, But I do feel like that's not going to last very long, and it kind of propels you to maybe make some subtle shifts in what you're doing to just feel better about what you do on a daily basis and how you take care of yourself, and also maybe what you do for money for work. I mean, there's a lot of just like positive shifts happening in terms of how you view life, your long-term visions, your goals. Even if stuff is challenging or there's moments of doubt or conflict, there is a lot of positive shifts resulting from it all. It's like you're deep in this transformation and you're starting to see how this is all just kind of helping you burn everything down that wasn't for you and rise better. On Tuesday, the moon harmonizes with Venus in your 10th house. There could be some emotional drive to act on something in your career, or maybe you're just feeling better about what you're doing for work. You're feeling more seen, you're feeling more recognized because of some shift that's happened in your self-worth or your values, or maybe just like your energy. Um, and it's really changed the way people perceive you. But then later on Tuesday, the moon uh, challenges Jupiter and Mars in your ninth and 12th houses. So there could be some mental stuff that comes up. There could be some subconscious belief system work or shadow stuff that comes up that's kind of residual, lingering from all that you've been doing. Um, with shadow work and with with looking at your subconscious and shifting it, transforming it. There could be some further stuff. Gunk is what it feels like. That's just like I don't even know how to talk about it. It's like just refining. It's like tidying it all up. I don't know. That could continue on Wednesday as we have the moon move over Chiron. There could be something that triggers you that kind of brings up more stuff that's like, oh, this is what that was about, or this is where that came from, and I no longer want to act from that place or believe that about myself or whatever it is. And so you realize you need to shift it. Later on Wednesday, the moon moves into your seventh house. There's an emotional focus on your relationships, but that challenges something about your home or your family. It could propel you into a transformation in your home or your family, maybe a move or something like that. Um, because of something that's conflicting or challenging, you might get the emotional clarity of like, okay, this is how I'm going to go about that. And then it's just kind of putting the plan into place, putting the steps into place to make it happen. As later on Wednesday and into Thursday, the moon is going to harmonize with the Mercury Cazimi we have in your 11th house. I feel like this is maybe the release of attachment to some long-term goal and vision you realize you no longer want anymore. And you are starting to just kind of make peace with that. And maybe somebody in your life helps you um, to just feel better about the changes you're making to your long-term goals and just kind of like starting to see it differently. As we get into well, Thursday into Friday, later on Thursday and into Friday, the moon's going to challenge Venus in your 10th. So there could be some emotional conflict between somebody in your life and what's going on in your career. But again, it's the energy is really just kind of focused on what is coming together, what is flowing. Don't get bogged down in the frustrating things. Focus on what is positive about what's happening and what's shifting. There could be later on Friday an emotional shift around that that propels you to kind of see things differently and have this different view of your inner world as the moon is going to move over Uranus and both are harmonizing with Pluto. We also still have kind of like the Mercury Cazimi in your 11th house. So there's a lot of clarity, even though there are challenges. Especially over the weekend, Saturday into Sunday, the moon's going to apply tension and going to challenge the Mercury Cazimi, but it's also going to harmonize with Mars in your 12th. So it's really this energy of take place from what has shifted within your inner world. Um, take action from what I feel like I said that weird. Take action from the place in your inner world that has shifted to be more positive. Does that make sense? That is aligned with where you want to go instead of like falling back into the old. So that's the week ahead for you, Scorpio. It's really just like remember who you are, remember what you're doing instead of yeah, getting bogged down in challenges. Let me know how that resonates in the comments. I feel like that was really specific, so please let me know, Scorpio, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Sagittarius Rising. We start the week off with the moon on Saturn in your fourth house. You could get some emotional clarity about your home or your family life in some way, maybe creative stuff that's happening for you there, or blossoming for you there. Maybe that's a move and realizing, like, oh, this is actually where I want to be, or this is how I want to be in this home. Um, Again, there's this sense of emotional discipline that you need to act on, maybe related to most definitely related to what came up over the weekend with the eclipse. Later on Monday, the moon moves into your fifth house over Neptune. There may be some self-doubt about a creative project, just not seeing things super clearly, but the answer is, don't really focus too much on it. Don't sit in it, because that won't last very long, especially as we get into Tuesday. The moon is going to harmonize with Venus in your ninth house, and then it will oppose Mars in your 11th. So there could be some, through that doubt, you get clarity on how you actually want to go about the thing. Maybe you thought you wanted to do it one way, and that doubt kind of prompted you to be like, oh, actually, I want to do it this way, and that feels better. Um, it's like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, how can you, work with what you have and make changes that you're realizing you want to make, instead of just giving up on it completely. That's kind of this energy, but there's also maybe tension and challenges between what's going on in your community or your relationships, um, that doesn't feel so comfy. It feels like emotionally challenging, but again, it's going to clear up, and it could bring up some mm, needed wound or trigger around what the creative thing is that you're doing, or maybe this is dating. The fifth house is many things. But it is what are you passionate about, especially right now. And Wednesday could bring up some emotional wounds or triggers around that, and how the new beginning is evolving, and what needs to change about mm, your beliefs and past triggers that aren't super helpful in terms of creating this thing. Does that make sense? um as we get into later on Wednesday and into Thursday, the moon moves into Taurus into your sixth house. There could be some emotional transformation related to that. Maybe you have a helpful conversation with somebody, or you go somewhere and just have this kind of breakthrough. But it also feels like there could be emotional challenges between, like, where you're going, who you're talking to, and your ability to focus on work emotionally, or focus on your routine. It might feel like you're torn between the two, but either way, it's going to provide you with this kind of shift and transformation about what needs to change in order to have what you're working towards in the way that you want it. Um, and then later on Thursday, the moon is going to harmonize with the Mercury Cazimi in your 10th house. So again, there could be this emotional drive or this clarity to see it differently and to kind of refine it in ways that actually feel better. An example of this is, like, if you wanted to do this new thing and you're like, well, how do I go about it? How do I blah 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 blah? It's almost like, oh, here's the answer. This is what I need to do, and now I know I'm gonna do it. It's like, just detach from the mental spiral and, like, let what is gonna come. Like, the answers are literally here for you, when you just surrender the mind to trying to figure it out on your own. Then later on Thursday and into Friday, the moon's gonna challenge Venus in your ninth. Again, it's just gonna, whatever you're wanting to do, it's just gonna require a mindset shift. Maybe returning to your faith or spiritual practice that helps you detach mentally from figuring it all out, because that's not how the answer is gonna come. It's gonna come on a whim. It's gonna come from a kind of like intuitive inspiration. It's not gonna come from you mentally trying to figure it out. Then Friday, later on Friday, the moon's going to move over Uranus in your seventh house again. There could be this epiphany, this emotional breakthrough around whatever this is, maybe related to somebody you talk to or somebody in your life that helps you to kind of see things differently. And it's like, oh, this is what I needed to step back and wait for, was this conversation, or to run into this person, or whatever. As we get into the weekend, on Saturday, we have the moon challenging Saturday into Sunday. We have the moon challenging the Mercury Cazimi in your 10th house. So again, there could be this sense of, like, just needing to step back from mentally trying to figure it out. Because it feels like it's going to come through some serendipitous moment with a friend or with somebody you run into or something like that. So there could be more challenge and conflict for you on Saturday than there needs to be if you're, like, still trying to figure it out with your mind instead of just waiting for like the divine timing of it to unfold and show you how to act on it. Does that make sense? Because that's the week ahead for you, Sagittarius. So let me know how that resonates, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Capricorn Rising, we start the week off the moon on Saturn in your third house. This could be, whatever came up with the eclipse. It's like, okay, I really need to, there's this sense of emotional discipline. There's this sense of like, I need to really commit myself to this. Whatever I realized, whatever I got clarity on, I really need to be disciplined with it. And it's funny, um, the chart pulled up right now is for 3:33 p.m. So could apply to some creative pursuit of like needing to really commit yourself emotionally to some creative pursuit that you're embarking on or you got an idea around with this eclipse. And then later on Monday, the moon moves into your fourth house. You're gonna be focused on your home. There could be some self-doubt there. There could be some, you know, illusions or fogginess around what's going on in your home or having emotional clarity around something with home or family. But it's not going to last very long, especially as we get later into the week. And on Tuesday, the moon is going to harmonize with Venus in your eighth house. This could be a positive emotional shift around what's going on in your resources, your finances, maybe related to your home, related to your family. Um, but there could also be some emotional tension that that's putting on your career. Maybe if you're moving, you're not able to like work in the ways that you need, and then your relationships are kind of suffering from that. That's this energy, but it's almost like, okay, well, what can you focus on that's positive about this? And how can you focus on what you can control and be grateful for what you do have, even if it's not all happening the way that you want it to just yet? As we get into Wednesday, there could be some further emotional trigger or wound around that comes up early on Wednesday. That kind of has you face the deep-seated subconscious thing running that mindset and how to shift it. Later on Wednesday, the moon moves into your fifth house and challenges Pluto in your second. So there could be some emotional challenge between a creative project pursuit or dating, romance, and what's going on with your finances. It could feel like, oh, this didn't have the result that I wanted. So what do I need to shift about it for it to have the result that I want? Or how can I just listen more to my intuition instead of trying to force it and make it happen myself? Because it's like the harmony's here, the miracles are here, but not because they come from you, because they come from like the divinity within you and acting from that place. Like you can't just force it. You can't force miracles. Like they're gonna happen when they happen, and you just have to like surrender and let them come to you. That's this energy. I think you're gonna realize that, especially on Thursday, it just takes a mindset shift or a perspective shift as the moon is gonna harmonize with the Mercury Cazimi on the south node in your ninth house. Again, it's this release of a mindset, of a perspective, of how you were viewing things in order to like have them all line up in the ways that they need instead of creating more chaos that's unnecessary. As we get into Friday, we're gonna have the moon move over Uranus. There could be an epiphany around that. That could be, you surrender the mind, you surrender like needing to control and have it all be how you want it to be, and you just let it be how it needs to be. And there is the miracle that comes in maybe Friday into Saturday as the moon moves over Uranus. Then, as we get later on into Saturday, the moon is going to challenge um, the Mercury Cazimi in your ninth house. So again, it could just have you revisit those themes of like, okay, I've made a habit of relying on my mind, but I need to make a new habit of like relying on my spiritual practices or my routine to ground me instead of what's going on in my mind. And then it feels like from making that shift and change, you could get some clarity emotionally on what to do about your work and career in order to bring in the money that you need for whatever it is that you need it for or want it for, that kind of thing. So that's the week ahead for you, Capricorn. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Aquarius Rising. We start the week off the moon on Saturn in your second house. There could be some epiphany or emotional breakthrough around money, and maybe something you need to kind of commit yourself to, be disciplined with in order to implement the changes or the realizations that came with the eclipse. and just kind of, Saturn is the planet of discipline. It's the planet of commitment. So it's like, what emotionally do you need to commit yourself to as it relates to your possessions, your money, your finances, in order to have those changes that you want within those areas. Later on Monday, the moon moves into Aries in your third house. There could be some fogginess around your communication or just your mindset or how to like take action on what you've realized you want to do. But I don't feel like that's going to last very long, especially as you get into Tuesday and the moon harmonizes with Venus in your seventh. There could be some conversation you have with somebody that helps you um, to realize what you need to do or get more clarity on the changes you need to make in order to act on the clarity you've received. Does that make sense? As we get into Wednesday, the moon moves into your fourth house and challenges Pluto in your first. There could be some emotional conflict between like the transformation you're going through and what's going on in your home or your family. I mean, you've changed a lot over the last like year or two, and maybe there's been some things that you're realizing like, oh, this isn't actually like what I wanted as it relates to my home or my family or how I saw all of this kind of progressing and evolving. So there could be some emotional challenge between that, between those areas of your life on Wednesday. And then as we get into Thursday, um, I feel like, whatever that was, maybe it's just kind of like a fleeting moment of doubting what you've created for yourself. Because as we get into Thursday, the moon, well, I don't know. It's this energy of like, the grass is always greener. It's like I wanted this and I've created it, but is it what I actually want now that I have it? And if not, then you might realize you need to release it and make changes based on what you now know that you don't want, and make changes to have what you actually do want. Um, Especially as it relates to like your emotional, like how you feel emotionally tied to your home in some way and your resources and like your relationships that are vulnerable and maybe intimate as well. That's very, very specific. As we get into Friday, Aquarius, the moon moves over Uranus in your fifth house, harmonizes with Pluto in your first. Again, there could be that like you're just realizing these things you no longer really want, and what do I need to change? What do I need to let go of in order to create space for that change to happen in the ways that I want? And then on Friday, there could be this emotional epiphany around that breakthrough of like how to go about it, or what needs to just change. Maybe it's even like you need to just change how you are emotionally tied to it, or need to maybe remove yourself from having it be or look a certain way and not control it as much and just let it be what it is. Maybe like this acceptance may come through about it. Um, on Saturday, we're gonna have the moon in Gemini challenge the Mercury Cazimi. That'll be later on Saturday into Sunday. So again, this could be kind of this energy of like, okay, now what? How do I act on this? What do I do about it? But I do feel like as we get into Sunday, there will be this kind of more clarity around the epiphany and the breakthrough of like needing to see it differently and how to move forward. Um, Making the changes you want to make that are ultimately going to be more beneficial for you and how you're transforming and changing and growing. So that's the week ahead for you, Aquarius. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Okay, Pisces rising. We start the week off with the moon on Saturn in your first house. There's this new version of yourself. You're realizing you have to like hmm, be emotionally disciplined to stepping into, whether it's through having a spiritual practice or having like time to yourself to meditate and just like sit in the energy of how you're changing and what you're stepping into. There's this need to just be really disciplined with what came up around the eclipse and what's been a theme really of you, your sense of self and your identity and what's changing there over the last 2 to 3 years. Later on Monday, the moon's going to move into your second house. There could be some self-doubt or fogginess emotionally around your finances, around money. But I do feel like it's going to propel you to make necessary changes and maybe see things differently as it relates to what's going on in your money and your finances. Then as we get into Tuesday, um, the moon is going to harmonize with Venus in your sixth. So there could be some like emotional drive towards work that feels good, but then also there's conflict between maybe your romance life or your intimacy or dating. Could also be like your inner world and maybe just kind of feeling this lackluster energy. Like there's this emotional drive in one way that feels good, but then in other areas, like you maybe are expecting yourself to feel a certain way about and you don't. So there's kind of this push and pull. But I do feel like it's kind of prompting you to look at, again, these identity shifts and what's changing about you to kind of not put so much pressure on yourself to have it all figured out and just like let it flow is the energy because it's all going to come together when and how it needs to. And it's just about like releasing the pressure on you to have it all figured out right now because you can't. And that's kind of unrealistic to expect of yourself. Um, Then as we get into Wednesday, the moon moves into your third house, challenges Pluto in your 12th. That whatever came up on Tuesday could really propel you into this mindset shift. It's like a wound or a trigger was brought up around maybe your worthiness, and maybe how you're just a little bit too hard on yourself or have been and need to kind of shift like self-talk, um, subconscious stuff that's playing into that. That's not super beneficial for you. Then as we get into Thursday, the moon in your third house is going to harmonize with everything in Virgo in your seventh, the Mercury Cazimi on the south node. There could be some positive support you have from somebody in your life, like kind of a pep talk maybe you receive or ask for on Thursday of like getting kind of having a soundboard to talk through what's coming up for you, and how to really like make the most of it and not spiral from it. Also feels like there's challenges between like your emotions on Thursday and like what needs to be done in work or something like that. But again, it's just like leaning on people who are there to support you when you need it and not being afraid to ask for it. Um, then as we get into Friday, there could be an epiphany around that as the moon moves over Uranus in your fourth house and harmonizes with Pluto in your 12th. There could be this realization of like, oh, I realize I do this because of this happened in my childhood or whatever. This happened with family, and I've like been doing that ever since. And like that's not how I want to go through life. So there's kind of like this emotional epiphany of how to support yourself in making that change internally that you're realizing is a big part of the identity shift that's happening. Then as we get into Saturday, the moon is going to challenge everything that's in Virgo in your seventh, but also will harmonize Saturday into Sunday with Mars in your eighth. So again, there's this breakthrough, this clarity, this shift of like maybe somebody in your life is helping you to see things differently. Even though there might be some emotional challenge with that on Saturday, it does feel like once you kind of overcome that challenge, it evolves the way that everything is progressing for you and the way that you're seeing everything. Um, it's like you're becoming more of you, and it just starts with like the way that you talk to yourself, the way that you see yourself. And you're realizing like what needs to be done about that this whole week, and it really solidifies over the weekend. So that's the week ahead for you, Pisces. Let me know how that resonates in the comments, and I will see you next week. Okay, let me read through y'all's comments. I don't see any, so I'll end the live and get off here and add the timestamp so you can go back and watch if you missed your horoscope. You can find it easily. And I'm wishing y'all a wonderful week. I feel like, yeah, I just feel like we are going to get what we need in order to move forward in the ways that we want. So I'm really excited. Let me know how your horoscope resonated with you. Come back and let me know how the week goes.